All right, we got Michael Doran here, from a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute, terrific writer. He has taught NYU, Princeton, and has lived to tell the tale, and he's written for every place, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. His latest book is Ike's Gamble, America's Rise to Dominance in the Middle East. It's out now. It's about President Eisenhower's handling of the 1956 Suez Crisis. But unfortunately for Mike, we haven't brought him on to talk about that, but about this terrific article he wrote for National Review called The Real Collusion Story. How you doing, Mike? It's good to see you.
Great to be here.
So it's hard to ask you to condense this story, which is a long, very detailed story. But give us at least the idea of what you think the real collusion story is.
The real collusion story is that senior members of the Obama administration teamed together to frame Trump as Putin's puppet. And the key guy in it, which was a surprise to me when I put it together, is John Brennan. I assume that President Obama is standing behind Brennan, but and I tried to lay this at Obama's feet as much as I could, but I think I have to honestly say that I didn't prove that case. It's just hard for me to believe that if you have Brennan and Conmy and Loretta Lynch all working together to prop up Hillary and tear down Donald Trump, that the president isn't somehow aware of that.
So when we're watching Brennan attack Trump now, we're watching him carry out something that he had planned before this, essentially.
I think so, but I think now he's in defense mode. I think he's trying to inject himself into partisan politics so that when the investigators come and they uncover what he did, he will have a lot of partisan support behind him. He can present it as a partisan witch hunt when it's actually justice being done.
So what is it that he did? What exactly did John Brennan do to get this story? I mean, it's amazing that now for over a year we've been covering the story, and there is still not a jot of evidence that Trump colluded with the Russians. I seriously just don't believe that happened. It seems ridiculous.
You don't believe that Carter Page was the?
I mean, they were investigating. They were investigating Jeff Sessions. You know.
Yeah, Jeff Beauregard. Beauregard the third is actually a Russian mole.
I know that Beauregard is pronounced Boris. I think it's. So what did Brennan do? I mean, what exactly did he do to get the story rolling?
Started out. He wanted, I didn't go into this bit in detail in the story because I didn't think I could prove it enough to my satisfaction, and it would have taken me 3 more pages and an incredibly long article to do it. I think the first thing he did was he trumped up the Papadopoulos case. I don't believe the Papadopoulos case, but let's leave that aside because I don't have the goods on him there. Okay. But that thing stinks to me, the whole. And I'll go into it just for a second, actually, because I worked in the White House, and I unmasked people when I worked in the White House because there are spies all over Washington, D.C., and there are lots of people bumping into spies, foreign spies, and there are FBI and NSA who are tracking foreign spies. So the fact that somebody bumped into a spy, this is everyday business of people in counterintelligence. Right? So what do they prove about Papadopoulos? They prove that he bumped into a spy. Maybe they haven't even said that. And and then Mueller has come down on Papadopoulos with all the power that Mueller has to destroy your life if you don't tell him everything that he wants to know. And what have they proved? That he told Mueller something that wasn't true and that he bumped into a spy. So I think that whole thing was trumped up to begin with. But what Brennan really wanted from Conmy is he wanted Conmy to, first of all, agree with his assessment, with Brennan's assessment, that not just was Putin intervening in some ways in our election, but that he was trying to get Donald Trump elected. You see, what he was trying to do was get an intelligence community assessment that corresponded to the propaganda of the Hillary Clinton campaign, which was saying just that. And the other thing that Brennan wanted from Conmy was an investigation of the Trump team for colluding with Russia, which Conmy could then leak to the press in order to help out Hillary in the campaign. So, yes, Hillary had this email investigation, but Trump is colluding with Russia. And Comey, for most of the summer, didn't really play ball with Brennan, but in the end, he did. He leaked to the press that there was, or the FBI. I'm assuming Comey was witting of that. That the FBI leaked to the press that Carter Page was under investigation for conspiring with the Russians to help Trump get elected. And then we now know they also trumped up this investigation of Carter Page, and they got a surveillance warrant on the basis of totally bogus information from the Steele dossier.
And they basically ensured, I mean, Comey basically ensured that the Steele dossier would become public by sharing it with Obama and Trump. But
right, yeah. I left off that bit because I had to end at some point, so I ended at the election.
Now,
yeah, they did that.
Now, what is your evidence exactly that this starts with Brennan instead of Comey?
Well, if you go back and what's interesting about it is that these guys, they told lies,
right,
and then after the election, they told new lies. And so if you just go back through the press, through the New York Times and the Washington Post, I enjoyed doing that in the article, saying, according to the New York Times, according to the Washington Post, Brennan felt a need. I'm not sure exactly why, but at a certain point after the election, he felt a need to cover his tracks. And so he told this whole big story about how he was absolutely convinced as of early August that Putin was trying to influence the election in order to help Trump. And he had this incredible information at his fingertips, information that nobody else seems to have had, and so forth. So if you just go back through all the New York Times and Washington Post stories, they tell you the story. See, the thing about this kind of conspiracy is that you can have conspiracies, but usually they're behind closed doors to do something that people can't see. In this case, they wanted to influence an election. So they wanted to get information out to the electorate. And now that's something that you can see with your own eyes. Mm. And then they had to go back and explain why they were doing what they were doing. So one of the things I go into in the article is how John Brennan organized, I think with Obama's okay, according to the New York Times, these briefings of members of Congress about what Brennan believed about the Putin intervening. And he did that without an intelligence community assessment. He told it's clearly now in the press as a matter of record that he said things that he shouldn't have been talking about at all, about members of Trump's team being under suspicion and so forth. And it's just the only way that I theorize is I say, when he tells these things to Harry Reid 1 month before the election, it's because he wants Harry Reid to go out and talk about them, not because he's doing his due diligence as a CIA officer, trying to keep Congress informed.
They make fun of people for talking about deep state conspiracies. But the fact is, it doesn't even have to be like a movie with people in trench coats meeting on park benches. It can really just be a dishonest guy in a powerful position talking to another guy in another powerful position and doing something they shouldn't be doing. I mean, this is deep state collusion. It is deep state's conspiracy without the cloak and dagger.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the deep state idea, although I use it too sometimes, is that we're really talking about Obama administration and Obama officials. It's not the average CIA officer. It's these political appointees who are working together. The thing is that I think the key we have to remember is that they all believed that Hillary was probably going to win, and a good chance of. They never thought that we'd have Jeff, whatever, Beauregard Sessions III, setting up a special counsel to go check and see what they did.
So, and I mean, Obama was a master of giving orders in plain sight. I mean, you talk about his Charlottesville speech. I believe it was Charlottesville, where he gave a speech that kind of pointed people in this direction. He did this with the IRS, where he talked about dark money, and he didn't have to call people up on a black phone somewhere and tell them this. He just gave the speech. They knew what to do, kind of.
I think so. And I've never seen. I know you talk about this all the time, very effectively. I've never seen the press so helpful to another politician. Yeah. So eager to change the subject when they do something wrong, and so eager to pretend that he's saying one thing when he's clearly saying another.
So let's talk about Mueller a little bit now. I mean, there's the other fantasy that the press keeps going into is that Trump is going to fire Mueller, and they keep talking about this as if it were, a pending thing. It's right around the corner. He's going to fire Mueller. The White House keeps saying, nope, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. First of all, do you believe, just out of curiosity, do you believe that Trump would fire Mueller? It just seems like a bad move.
I think it probably is a bad move. I think he is morally, he has a moral right to do it. I think he has a legal right to do it. I think
Yeah.
politically it would be harmful to him.
So where do you stand on Mueller? It's very hard in the kind of swamp of online opinion. The right thinks he is some kind of Democrat agent. The left keeps saying what a wonderful guy is. Although if tomorrow he comes out and says there was no collusion, they're going to talk about how he was bullied and blackmailed or whatever. Where do you stand on Mueller as an investigator?
Well, I think that the Mueller investigation is corrupt in the sense that the foundations are the Trump Russia collusion investigation that I talk about in the article. This Mueller is just the logical culmination of it. So I think that the whole thing is bogus to begin with. And he's shown no signs to work outside the frame set up by Comey, McCabe, Strzok, and so forth. The guy, I don't know. I don't have a strong judgment about the guy, but I just look at the logic of what he's doing. The logic of what he's doing is furthering the injustice that began with this abuse of power. He strikes me, as a certain kind of Marine that I've come across in my time. Where you say to a Marine, typically, look, I want you to take that hill and you can go by the road, or you can go up that path, or you can go through the jungle, but don't go through the jungle because you can't do that. The minute you tell him that, he's going to go through the jungle. He's going to take that hill.
So I'm out of time, but where do you think this is going to end? Do you think Mueller is going to come up with some kind of charge against Trump, or is it?
Absolutely. Obstruction of justice. He's going to do it either right before the summer recess or right at the end of the summer recess, so that the election in November is going to be a big issue in it. And he can't help himself. These guys, the special counsels, they feel that that their manhood has been taken from them if they don't have some real significance.
That's a terrible thought. Michael Doran, the article is called "The Real Collusion Story" at National Review. Michael is also the author of Ike's Gambit: America's Rise to Dominance in the Middle East. Thanks a lot, Michael. It's really interesting. I hope you come back.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.